Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukatali.
Hello there, this is Newsline and we're broadcasting from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. Usually we're live, but this is a recording. Nevertheless, we encourage you to send us your questions by SMS on 0772 300 305. And our guest, of course, this morning, our guest today is Mr. Rusiripala Tennakoon, who is, of course, a retired, very senior banker and currently a very vociferous critique of good governance and all things accountable in his quest to make Sri Lanka a level playing field for everyone. Hello there, Mr. Rusiripala. Thank you very much for being on the program.
Hi, Faraz.
Now then, Mr. Rusiripala, after we last spoke about when you were on our program, we did a program called Is the People Bank Being Readied for Sale? Yeah. That elicited that and other coverage, I suppose, elicited a response from the Ministry of Finance in which they denied that the People's Bank is for sale. Yeah. Can we place much faith in these statements, or what is the real story?
Yeah, at the time we did our last program for us, the People's Bank remained focused for one reason, that was about the amendment of its act. And people were concerned why suddenly this move to amend the act.
Yeah.
But then looking at the amendments, of course, there is nothing very alarming in the act,
right,
except the endorsement of the fact that the bank's capital needs to be addressed, the situation.
Yeah.
And also the provisions that were available for the bank to go for additional capital requirements outside the financing by the Treasury has been addressed in the amendments that have been provided for. But it remains focused again, on very many other aspects, about the non-performing loans portfolio going very heavily increased, and then it's going up further, and the possibilities of it's falling into a very worse situation than is expectable in the industry. So in this context, the statement made by the Minister of Finance, Mangala Samaravira, remains to be examined more carefully, because if it remains just a political statement that he made to get over the situation, I mean, which it appears to be, to me, it appears to be just a makeshift statement that he made just to get over the difficulties and over the issue. But then the big question is he, as the Minister of Finance, of course, the bank came under his portfolio very recently, but does he remain focused on the activities of the People's Bank in real? This is the question. That is the question. Therefore, I have my serious doubts whether he means what he says when the People's Bank is not for sale.
Do you think that there's some, your antennas are not off, it's still on?
Not at all, not at all. For this reason, the bank, the amendments of the Act clearly is indicative of one thing, that the bank is not in a position to finance itself through its sources, normal sources, business activities, to reach the standards that are required for the bank to survive as an accepted bank in the international scenario, and also under the regulatory requirements of the local situation. And besides, the adding burdens onto the bank due to the increasing non-performing loans and the falling of the asset value, it is very difficult, and also the economic situation that we are failing, the country overall situation generally. I mean, this is only one state-owned enterprise. The government is saddled with so many state-owned enterprises which are saddled with heavy burdens of indebtedness. So in that context, I'm at a loss to understand how the Minister of Finance is giving an assurance that the bank will not be, the shares will not be sold. And adding to the doubts,
Yeah.
conjectures,
Yeah.
you know, the finance minister says that the shares will be given to the staff and also to the depositors. Now, who are the depositors for us? We have some millions of people who are depositors and customers of the bank.
Yeah.
If shares are to be given to them, virtually you have opened the floodgates and there is no more privatization necessary. That
Right.
itself is a privatization exercise.
Yeah.
So, this minister is talking, I mean, absolute rubbish. When he says that we are not privatizing, but we are giving shares to the depositors, the customers and to the staff. The staff numbering 7,000, about 7,000 people. And if they do extend that facility to the pensioners as well, there's another 7,000, 14,000 there, and a couple of millions as customers who are banking with the People's Bank. I mean, if all of them are counted in this exercise or included, I mean, that is virtually opening up the floodgates for buying shares and issuing shares. No more privatization is necessary.
Now then, whilst all this is going on, the generous public haven't been silent. The generous public are always at work. And I got this list, which apparently is a list of position of on non-performing debts with outstanding balances over 10 million as of the 31st of May 2019. I'm wondering whether it's a litany of all sorts of sums of monies being owed. I was wondering, Mr. Rusiripala, if you could take a glance at this and tell me, because some of this is astounding, because it has something called Mihin Lanka, for example, and the Mihin Lanka amount that is owed to the People's Bank is, here we go, 2.5 billion granted between August 2015 and December 2016, and the amount due is 2,532,000. The same amount. The same amount. So it hasn't been. So anyway, and the security is the letters of comfort. I must be from the Treasury, I suppose. But I'd give you that and let you, perhaps you can count on, tell me.
Far as I envy you, because you know, somehow or other, if you have access to this type of things, I mean, this is very valid, very vital information for critics like us, you know, because these things are kept in the dark by the bank and then in the cupboards very well secured. I'm happy that you have had a opportunity of laying your hands on a thing like this, but this gives a very clear picture of, officially it looks that it is an official statement somewhere, you know, I don't know, like the WikiLeaks. You know, some document leaked from somewhere, which gives a whole lot of information about you know, the current positions. And
now, I just want to quote some names to you. Mendes & Co. is, they have a total exposure of approximately, it's 2.1, says 2.2, around 2.8 billion rupees.
Let me quickly trace where this is in the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a long list. Of course, there are so many things that are being shown here. At a cursory glance, I can see many things here. But then quickly to take a look at, yes, W.M. Mendes and Company.
Yes.
I mean, there is a record here that they have been given overdrafts from 2015, which have gone into non-performing in 2019. 2019 for you and I is a period where this just after the bond scam, no?
Just 2019.
19 is long after the bond scam.
Long after the ban.
And,
about 4 years after.
And October 2015 is the bond period.
The October 2015 is the Well, no, because
The first bond was
the first bond was
February
February 2015. The second one was March 2016.
2016. I'm trying to refresh my date, but then this date, that according to the grant date, this is somewhere in the October, that period.
Of 2015.
Yeah, 2015.
Well, they were flying high.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
And they have been given an overdraft, the balance remaining is 2 billion. 2 billion.
This is in spite of all the controversy.
Exactly.
Because the controversy started the 1st of March 2015.
The company was in a very questioned state. The directors were questioned, directors were exposed, and people are talking about who the directors, father, son, everybody.
So would when the banks make decisions such as these,
Yes,
lending decisions, do they go through some sort of credit committee or a risk committee or risk assessment?
This is exactly my concern for us. I mean, looking at this. These loans have been granted going through risk control committees, credit evaluation committees, assessment committees, and headed by directors of the bank, and going through compliance requirements according to central bank regulations.
Yeah.
You see, the irony is, having gone through all those ideals, I should say, of lending.
Yeah.
I mean, if this was found suitable as a credible lending exercise, I mean, that is where the fault is. We can see the bank has been led or drifting in some direction, going above and beyond all the regulatory requirements and the norms.
Yeah.
This is what it reflects. A 2 billion overdraft granted between October and December, according to this list, over a period of 2 months. And to remain in the books for so long, with an accumulated interest amount of 81 million. I mean, the other thing is, if the bank kept this until it was transferred to past due, overdue, they should have definitely accounted for this interest as accrued interest and gone to the profits. So the profits are bogus now. They have not earned any profits. They are just mere profits, provisions.
Right.
They have been adding the interest to the overdraft and showing that as income in your profit and loss statement. Whereas it is not actual income, it is now reflecting in the non-performing section.
This is very creative
My
accounting.
God. I wonder whether Mangala Samaraveera, as the Minister of Finance, can go into this and find out the reality of what he is up to or what he is faced with. He talking that, bank is not for sale, bank need not do that, this, that, it's far from that. The real situation, just this is one solid example. I don't know how you picked it up, but then, I mean, maybe because your familiarity with the bond case and the parties.
Well,
but
they
then,
do send us information, which is, we welcome all whistleblowers, and of course we will protect whistleblowers. And also, I think we need to say that all the information is vetted for the veracity and the integrity of the document that we're talking about. So we don't take this lightly. We take it quite seriously.
no, we have to be very serious about it, because after all, it is a state bank. One of the two leading state banks, the only two state banks in the country in commercial operations. We can't afford to say anything against those banks, institutions in the national interest. But of course, that doesn't prevent us from telling them, the public, or then pinpointing the administrative measures that have gone haywire, which should not continue in the national interest. So people should not understand that this is nothing against the People's Bank.
Indeed.
This is definitely against this abhorrent administration that has been going in.
And we'll come up with with some more details of big ticket but poor lending decisions surrounding the People's Bank and the abuse of the people's monies. Your money, our money. Right after this break. Don't go away. After all, you're tuned into Newsline.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
And welcome back to Newsline. We're in conversation with Mr. Rusiripala Tennakoon. Now, Mr. Rusiripala, I've been going through this list of outstandings, the non-performing loans of the People's Bank, a state-owned bank, and it occurs to me that some of these figures, the date granted and the date that it enters the non-performing status it seems to be very little time. Is there some sort of minimum statutory period given by the regulator?
Yes, of course. The central bank regulations are very clear about the keeping of the facilities, loans, overdrafts, etc. in the current sections of the bank or period. So there are stipulated terms under which during which they can keep them. Now, if this list reflects that a loan or a facility granted and within a short time it has been transferred to non-performing, it shows that it has been very bad from the beginning itself. So that is the one that reflects much on the credit decision making. That is where it has gone wrong.
But
there can be corruption involved in it.
I see.
Yes.
So that means that a closer examination is called for, perhaps by the central banks, by the bank supervision unit. And what do you think they're likely to find?
I think if they subject this to a very closer examination, than going through by the report submitted to them by the bank, I mean, that certainly it will reveal very many lapses in their regulatory functioning, observation of the regulations in the bank, and the laxity that the bank has been following or exercising in granting facilities to cronies, friends and various other selected people. There can be definite corruption involved in this, and this is public money.
Absolutely. But some of the names are either this is a sign of the times, either a sign of the times in the sense that these are being some of these companies being affected by the economic downturn in our country. But even that isn't really fair to say, because there are several loans here or advances that have gone wrong and that they've been made in the years gone by.
Of course, yes. There are some loans that have gone into non-performing, which have been granted in 2005 and 2017, 16, like that. But there are other interesting features here. There are a couple of facilities that I quickly glanced through, and I found that where certain people in position, while holding positions in the bank, these facilities have been granted to their companies where they had control over, and they have gone into bad books. The very large amounts, very large amounts.
But these are, strictly speaking, shall I turn it off? Okay. But what was the question?
About these facilities that have been granted to companies and institutions, organizations, where the serving directors were holding positions in the bank itself.
Okay. Now then, ready? Now then, Mr. Rusiripala, when you first look at these things, the period by which it's almost as though the loan is granted and then a few months later it's moved straight into the NPL.
Exactly.
So it looks like it was a poor lending decision, if that was the case. And it appears that perhaps either that the risk committee is your phone ringing?
No.
off කරන්නකෝ.
airport mode එකට දාන්න. Right. Okay.
Hari. Now, same prashna again. Okay. Now, Mr. Rusiripala, when one takes a look at this list, it appears that in some cases a facility is granted on a particular day and then within a few months it enters MPL. So it looks like, so that suggests one of two things, that the risk committee, the person or the committee deciding whether to pass these big loans got it spectacularly wrong, or whether there was some other explanation like political patronage or some form of patronage.
Quite possible for us. The loan granting process, the approval process itself becomes questionable when a facility falls into the non-performing section soon after, or the first given instance after the approval and the granting.
Yeah.
I mean, in the shortest possible time, if it goes to the non-performing, it indicates that they have not serviced the loan at all.
Yeah.
I mean, the instances that you have pointed out is something like that.
Yeah.
Then it also points to the other thing that you, very important thing that you pointed out.
Yeah.
These risk committees and the credit assessment committees and the headed by the directors and other responsible people in the bank.
Yeah.
What have they been doing? Have they been simply accommodating the recommendations by the other officials down the line, or have they just allowed it to pass, or whether they have themselves exercised influence to grant them at any cost, whatever the risk is, because that's somebody else's money.
So they don't have any incentive to be prudent.
They are expected, according to the standards and the norms, that to maintain ethical levels, but which they don't resort to. So that is a different question. What it reflects is, now here, one instance that I can see is that there is a certain company where, I mean, this your channel sometime back raised this issue. You know, there was a director of the People's Bank involved in the lending process, in the decision making process at different levels, who was a long serving director in the bank, and who was also the deputy chairman of that company.
Right.
And it is the largest private sector company that we have that has gone into non-performing is that company.
Right.
So now you can see, while he was a serving member of the board of directors, and this thing has happened, don't you think that there is a part of the responsibility?
The complete package, or the complete exposure of the People's Bank, as of the 31st of May 2019, I'm looking at the sort of total down here, is 3,483 million rupees. That's 3.4 billion with a B.
Oh God! I mean, thank you for doing that computation. I think if that is the case, if that is what it sums up to, it shows that it's a huge amount that has gone to non-performing and non-recoverable. And some of and I see the column. If you please. See the column where it says the current position and the proposed action to be taken. I have noticed quickly, I mean, in my cursory glance, that some of these things have not had adequate securitization. The guarantees of the personal guarantees of the directors, or sometimes the machinery, and I don't know. I mean, it also shows that those securities have been pledged to other banks as well. So I mean, these are very poor consideration. It deserves thorough examination. I think that director is no more, but he is still continuing as a director of the People's Leasing Company, which is a affiliate, a subsidiary of the People's Bank.
Now you're a banker, right? And then there are lots of other things, but Mendis has got about 2.2 billion, and there are so many. This list starts at 10 million and goes upwards. But there are several. There's one with 264 million, 155 million, 680 million, 500 million, 94 million. you know, 680 million is some sort of form of revolving credit granted in 1999. and the non-performing loans date is a year later. It's 680 million. That was in the year 2000.
That means it has gone bad in 1 year.
Within 1 year.
And since then remaining.
Then another 192 million from the same company went south, wrong, within 3 years.
Yeah.
And another one within 1 year of 194 million. And the list is quite endless, really. And then, of course, there's this foreign company, a Maldivian company, and it says here that a letter of demand has been sent through a Maldivian lawyer on the 8th of April 2019. But I'd like to know, how do you, I mean, I know you can go international, but when you go into countries where perhaps the legal system isn't as mature as in, let's say, the US or in Britain or Australia, then when you do lend overseas, you are into a different kind of a risk altogether, aren't you? Are you not?
Definitely, Faraz, definitely. This is where the risk assessments require certain standards to be applied and certain caution to be exercised by the people who do that.
Right.
Now, the example that you are showing is a company that is apparently a Maldivian company, and the action that is supposed to have been taken by the bank is even to serve the letter of demand, they'll have to appoint a Maldivian lawyer.
So therefore, when you go into overseas markets, you have a whole new risk profile. Your expense profile is different, and so on.
Faraz, that apart, this amount that you showed, I'm just having a quick look at it. The entire amount that is granted in 2018 is reflecting as non-performing in 2019. Entire amount, 1.6 billion to some project in Maldives.
So, you know...
but who are the officials who did this? Who are the officials? We are not worried about, I mean, we are worried highly about the bank. The bank has to continue.
And, you know, I'm going to have to say this because otherwise people are going to accuse me of being sort of partial. But I also notice here that a company called Leader Publications has gone down the pan. Where 24th of December 2003, a loan, the facility has been granted, and the non-performing loan was after the ownership had changed by 29th of November 2015. That was for nearly 15 million rupees. And the securities available is the personal guarantee of the directors of the company. I'd like to see them. Legal actions cannot be instituted in the absence of the correct address of the personal guarantor. So there you go. They didn't do their job right even then. Exactly. So, and all it does is that it puts the public's money, the people's money, the people's bank is the people's monies at grave risk.
That is where this entire question has come up now, the suspicions about having to sell the bank. Where are they going to find the capital when the assets which are treated as capital of the bank have gone bad? Then they can't maintain the capital adequacy requirements. They have to pump in capital. Whose money are they pumping in? Public money.
And on that note, we'll call it a day, but because we've run out of time. As usual, when you're having a good time, you run out of time. Now then, Mr. Rusiripala, do come back and let's give you a chance to analyze what you've just been given. And then let's come back and let's discuss it and take it further. And especially perhaps do a program on credit risk management.
Thank you very much. I might be able to write an article on this.
Good, very good indeed. And that's the way it was on Newsline. Thank you very much and God bless.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.